Hello, this is a very brief video outlining what Assessment 1 is all about for the module, the psychology of physical activity and exercise. Essentially, this is a 3,000 word essay on which you have to critique a paper and propose a follow-up study to that paper. So specifically, I've outlined a couple of areas, or more than a couple of areas, in which you can find your paper, but it is up to you to go and find this piece of research. Essentially, I want you to look for any piece of research, intervention, can be any methodology that attempts to use physical activity in order to reduce, prevent, ameliorate, moderate the effects of some form of mental health issue. So it can be depression, anxiety, stress, or it can be a more general intervention to improve mood or decrease negative mood. So there are many studies out there that attempt to look at these things. So what I want you to do is find a piece of primary research, the most up to date the better, and then write a critique of that paper. So you don't just describe what the paper's done or what the intervention's done, you critique it. So there is an element of description, but you you provide a real critical commentary on some of the good and maybe not so good things about a paper. So you might look at who the participants were, where were they recruited from, was that appropriate? You might discuss the analysis in terms of what they did, whether that was appropriate or not, what were the main findings, what were the implications of the findings. And then you will then propose a follow-up to that study. Now, it might be the case that you feel there are a number of quite important problems with the original piece of research, so you would propose a study that would attempt to rectify those problems. It's all hypothetical, of course. Or it might be the case that the authors of your original paper make some recommendations for future research. You might take those recommendations further and think, well, we're going to do a longitudinal study that looks at this particular aspect of exercise and depression, for example. So that's really what I want you to do. Because it's 3,000 words at a fairly obvious, maybe not obvious is not quite the right word, but a suggested way you'll structure it is you might use 2,000 words for the critique and 1,000 words for the follow-up project. You don't have to do that by any means, but it's a suggestion. I put on Blackboard some coursework examples from last year. So these were people who were on the MSc last year and did this assignment, so you can see what those people did. And there are varying qualities. I haven't included my marks, so I haven't told you which are the good ones, which are the not so good ones, but you should be able to say that actually by reading them. So I hope you'll find that useful. As always, you contact me if there's any issues. And finally, to say, when you go and look for your paper, it might be a good idea just to run the paper by me. Just drop me an email with a paper and say, this is the paper I'm thinking of using for the assessment, what do you think? And I'll have a quick look, because some are going to be more appropriate than others. I don't want you to critique narrative reviews or systematic reviews. It has to be a piece of primary research where somebody's attempted to use exercise to, say, reduce depression and anxiety. It might be the case that the paper attempts to do many things, and that's okay as well. So that's Assessment 1. It's due in near the end of semester 1. Look at the word file I provided about Assessment 1 guidelines, and good luck.